Okay, is it that time? I think it might be that time for another talking video and a sequel talking video. As you can see from the title, this is God's Not Done With You 2. God's Not Done With You 2. Yeah, this is something that I wanted to talk about again. And, well, perhaps I could even add in the title serving in older age, because that is something that I will speak about here in this sequel video, God's Not Done With You 2. And there is the other point as well, which I would like to talk about here in the beginning, because if you look back on the original video, God's Not Done With You, yeah, this was inspired from one morning in, the end of May or early June of this year. I was driving to Cedar Point, and it was on the car radio. I just happened to hear a song for the first time, and I remember it going like this: God's not done with you. God's not done with you. And that really inspired me to make a video with that title. And, well, this is kind of similar to the point that I talked about in the video called Fun Things and Serious Things in the Future, Just Keep on Living, where I have made the point that when life can feel challenging and overwhelming and emotional and difficult, just keep on living. And again, I could say that here. Just keep on living for everything in the future, because in addition to the fun things and the serious things in the future, God's not done with you. You have a purpose in the future, and hopefully that purpose can be serving God and shining a light in this world. And yeah, I think about how I have continued living through the times that were difficult for me, when my father passed away and there were some drama stories in high school which were really tough on me, and other challenges too along the way. But I can see it how I have been serving throughout all of these years. And, well, I may have spoken about this, but I think about some musicians who have been through some really difficult times in their own lives, and I am so glad that they continued to keep on living through the depression and the really emotional times, and they have made it into older age, and their music from the later parts of their career, even that music is inspiring, and it is reaching some people out there in their fan base. And, well, I think of Bob Dylan, who went through a really difficult time in the late 1970s when he was getting divorced for the first time. And then in the mid 1980s, his career was just not in the most successful place. It was a tough decade when you had the drum machines and the synthesizers, and a lot of people from Dylan's generation were struggling in that decade. And I remember reading in Chronicles, Volume 1, a book that Bob Dylan wrote. In 1987, Bob Dylan was contemplating on retiring from the music scene altogether. After that tour in the fall of 1987 with Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Bob Dylan was really thinking about retiring. But I'm so glad that he did not retire, because ever since 1987, Bob Dylan slowly made a comeback. There was the Traveling Wilburys project in 1988, which was very successful. And you had albums like Oh Mercy and Time Out of Mind, Love and Theft, Modern Times, and others since then, which have been well received. And I think two of the biggest messages that I have picked up on from Bob Dylan in the later part of his career, well, one of those would be through his theme time hour, when he was, well, being like a disc jockey and showing his fan base the songs that he knows. And one message was from an old song. Don't take everybody to be your friend. Don't take everybody to be your friend. And boy, that really stands out to me, because there can be people out there who may try to be nice to you, but some people, even after they are nice to you, well, if you say no to them because you're standing up for something, they may try to guilt trip you and show you their real colors. And there may also be some people out there who they just want to mooch off of you for money or favors, and it's not really a good friendship. Yeah, that there are people who may act like they are friends, but yeah, there are people who may guilt trip you or try to mooch off of you, and that's why we have to be wise with who we have in our own little circles. Yeah. But there is that message from Bob Dylan. And also, on one of the Frank Sinatra albums, that was a triplicate, Bob Dylan recorded a song that is called Braggin'. Braggin', wasting all your time just bragging. Yeah, when I heard that song, it really reminded me that we do not want to brag and brag and brag and make other people feel inferior, or say that we have accomplished something that somebody else has not accomplished. We do not want to rub that in someone else's face. And I know that, well, yeah, this was a year and a half ago when Joel and Tyler and I made it to Six Flags Great Adventure. We were able to get a few rides on that roller coaster, El Toro, which is a very special roller coaster for a lot of roller coaster enthusiasts. And sure, we were happy that we were able to ride El Toro, and we just barely made it on, because that ride does have mechanical problems. But we also made sure that we did not brag about this or rub it in Jake's face. Jake, who is also a part of this group, and he was not on that vacation with us, but we have seen him since then, and we know that Jake has made it to that amusement park with El Toro in it. And unfortunately, Jake only had one day at Six Flags Great Adventure, and El Toro was not running that day because of mechanical issues. And so Joel and Tyler and I made sure that we did not brag about this because we do not want to make our friend Jake feel inferior, or we do not want him to think, oh, these guys are showing off so much these days by talking about that accomplishment. You know, we want to keep Jake our buddy, and well, I have also offered that at some point all four of us can go to Six Flags Great Adventure for a few days, and hopefully Jake can finally ride El Toro. But the point is, yeah, from later on in Bob Dylan's career, there was also that message of not bragging. And if Bob Dylan had thought that he was done in 1987, and if he actually had retired, then his fan base would not have picked up on those messages. Don't take everybody to be your friend, and also do not brag. And we would have missed out on those messages and a lot of other great music that Dylan has recorded since the 1980s. And also with Paul Simon, we know that he's been through his struggles, through going through a divorce and having a slump with his career in the early 80s. But we are all so happy that he recorded Graceland and he made a big comeback, and he was able to meet Edie Brickell and get married to her. And yeah, things have been good for him ever since. And also with Art Garfunkel, he went through a divorce and something really tragic with someone that he knew in the 70s, and Garfunkel's career was in a slump as well after a point. But even though Garfunkel's career never really made a huge comeback in terms of sales, I am glad that Art Garfunkel has still recorded some albums ever since the 1980s, and he also met Kim Cermak and married her, and things have been very good for him ever since. And the point is, all of those guys have been through tough times, really tough times. And I can at least relate to how I have lost some people in my life, and there have been times when I have thought, well, what's the point? Why should I keep going on? But I am so glad that I have kept going on because I have seen my purpose, and there has been so much that I have had to do throughout all of these years since my father passed away. I have done everything I can to help my mom and what has needed to be updated with the two homes that were left to us. And there has also been the purpose with growing in my faith and working as a youth ministry intern. And with all the people that I have met at Cedar Point, Kings Island, and the Lakeside Gates. You know, all the people I have met there. There have been times when I have been doing my best to live as a true godly example and to shine that light to all of those people that I have met through those jobs. And I hope to keep going into older age, because in older age, you never know how you could really make a big impact. And there were 2 points that I forgot to make in the original video for God's Not Done With You. And I would like to share those 2 points here, because both of these things are very inspiring to me. And one point is about someone that I have never met, and the other one is about someone that I have met. And, well, about the man that I have never met, I recall, maybe about 10 or 12 years ago, I was reading a book with the title Momentum for Life. And I'm pretty sure it was in that book, which, you know, that book is about the Christian faith. I'm pretty sure it was in that book that there was a little story about a man who was 94, and he was still inviting people to church. 94 years old and still inviting people to church. I mean, that is inspiring right there, about the man who was probably retired from his full-time job at that point. But at 94, he was not just lazing around and just being the kind of person who's not contributing. But at 94, he was still inviting people to church. And yeah, that is so inspiring to me. And it just goes to show that we can still make an impact with sharing our faith and inviting people to church in older age. And also, we can make an impact in older age by helping out with maybe setting up chairs for an event, or when the event is over, putting chairs away or getting the tables out, and just being there to offer a church bulletin to the people that come into a church service. And also just being there to listen to people when they are having a tough time. We can do that in older age, and also pass on advice from an older person to a younger person. And we could also really help, like the man that I have met down here in North Carolina. And at this moment, this man, I think he is 93 now. I think he's 93. And over the last 15, 16 years, this man, Mr. Olson, he has been cutting the grass every week for my quote-unquote grandma ever since her husband passed away. And yeah, when the husband of my quote-unquote grandma was still living, I'm pretty sure that he was the one who was cutting the grass in this big 2-acre field of grass out back. But after he passed away, Mr. Olson down the street decided to help out and cut the grass for my quote-unquote grandma, who I don't think she could have done that. I think, I mean, I know she had more energy after her husband passed. Like, when her husband passed, she was healthier than she is now. But I don't think she was motivated, and I'm sure that she was very depressed, and she was very busy with her doctor's appointments and just not motivated to cut the grass. But really, from 2009, 2010 onwards, Mr. Olson, who was in his late 70s at the time, he volunteered to cut the grass for my quote-unquote grandma, and he has been doing that ever since. And wow, what a big thing to be doing in older age. This man has really helped out my family member for the last 15, 16 years. And it's also very honorable that this man has said to my quote-unquote grandma, no, I don't need any money for cutting your grass. It's okay. But this guy has been cutting my quote-unquote grandma's grass for free, and that has made a huge difference, especially over the last 2 or 3 years now, since my quote-unquote grandma has been losing a lot of energy. And for most of this calendar year, when my quote-unquote grandma has not even been living here in the house anymore, because she had to move out to rehab, and she was in the hospital and now in a nursing home. And yeah, there's been no one living here. But this man, Mr. Olson, has been serving in older age, and yeah, I am very glad that he has been able to help with cutting the grass. And the point is, when we get to older age, there are still things that we could do to serve and help other people. And just remember along the way that if we are ever feeling emotional or if times are difficult, well, once again, I just encourage you to keep on living for the fun things and serious things in the future. And remember that God's not done with you. God's not done with you. God's not done with you. There are definitely things to see in the future, and we can always serve in young age, middle age, and older age. I just wanted to share all of that today and to make those other points that I did not make the first time, but I think I have expressed them in the way that I wanted to here. And so, yeah, I hope that you have enjoyed this, and this video will be in the playlist with the talking videos on the serious subjects. But I hope that you have enjoyed a little bit of my singing again in this video, and just remember that God's not done with you. Okay? Okay. So, yeah, once again, thank you for listening. Stay well, and I will see y'all again really soon for some more videos here on YouTube. Thank you.